you. Hello. Tell everybody I said hello, your family. They don't know me, but you know.
We here, we here.
Oso,
Yo,
can you hear me?
yes, sir. I can. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Hold on one second. Give me a second.
Oh, okay. Hold on, wait.
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. What's up?
All
What's up?
right.
What's up?
What's going on, bro?
Good, bro. Chilling. First live episode of the Crow and Oso Show. You know we lit.
This is exactly what that is. So let me just go back to the schedule to make sure I got everything right before we get started. It took us a
Yes,
while
sir.
to
Yes,
kind of
sir.
get going, but
We doing things
we up
a
now.
bit unorthodox today, but it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I mean that's how it is. We're always gonna find a couple of new things going on the first couple of go rounds, but this is the first live Instagram Crow and Oso show. I Crow,
It's your boy Oso.
yes sir. Uh, hey, I don't know who that's for. I don't know if that's for me or you, but hey, Al Torres, 1956.
Oh, my uh that's my uncle, man. That's my uncle.
Oh, que paso? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate the support, you know.
What's up, Theo? What's
Okay, all
young?
right, well, we'll just get right into it, man. We're not gonna
Let's
take too
do it.
much
Let's
of your
do it.
time. So first, we're gonna go through the recap of last week. First game was the Thursday night game, Chicago versus Washington. Chicago winning 40 to Washington's 20.
But we were way off on this one, huh?
Yeah, I didn't
Um,
get it all.
yeah, man. Well, I figured because since Washington played the Eagles so good the week before, I mean, but then like I said, it's like one of those things where you're playing a team in your own division, and then for some reason Washington has always played the Eagles really tough like that.
Yeah,
I was mentioning in last week's episode that the Eagles actually hadn't beat Washington at home in like 3 years. But then Washington just a complete dud against a team that hadn't even won a game in the Chicago Bears. I guess Mr. Fields heard me pretty much calling him a bust last week, and
yeah, he
I
heard
guess he
you.
decided to show
Get,
up.
get
But I mean, shout
on
out to
my
DJ
board. Get
Moore,
on my
man. He was a
ball, brother.
problem. Nah, I know for sure, for sure. But yeah, man. I think Washington. They are who we think they are. They're the third best team in the NFC East, and I'm glad they were able to, I guess, have a big slice of humble pie against a winless team in the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I think that Justin Fields is always solid, has always been solid. I still think their organization is trash. The front office, anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that they helped by getting the cancer called Chase Claypool off of their team. Um,
We gotta talk about that too, though, because
because your boy DJ,
yeah.
DJ Moore went off. 8 receptions for 230 yards. Stupid.
Madden stats.
Stupid. It's
Yeah,
crazy, bro. So
he's
I
nuts.
mean, that is dope. I don't know what to say else. What else to say about that except for that's dope.
Yeah,
In Washington, Howell put up 388 yards.
a lot
I
of
think
that was in the second half, though.
Washington. I don't know if they're not a threat, but
They're
they are
pesky.
an opponent that can give you a loss, give you an L. You
They're
know what I mean?
pesky. Yeah.
So yeah, they'll test you. So
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like they're a couple of years away, but it is what it is. All right, first game was the one across the pond again. You know, Jacksonville versus Buffalo.
This this one we were not up at 6:30 in the morning, Los Angeles time for this game.
Nah,
I did wake up. Actually, I was up around because I was going to the Eagles game at SoFi last week. So I did wake up early because I couldn't sleep. I was super excited. But I was up around 7:45, 8 o'clock. So I was able to catch like basically the end of the second quarter, and then I finished the rest of the game. Slow start to the game, but definitely picked up in the second half. Jacksonville pulled out a win that I did not think they can pull
me
out
either.
because Buffalo had looked extremely dominant over the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Tre'Davious White is turning out to be a huge loss already for the Bills. They got no hope in that secondary right now. I mean, I like Poyer, but Poyer can't. He's not gonna be able to cover everybody. Um, and they need to get somebody back like a Von Miller back as soon as possible because if he doesn't come back, that's going to be a very weakened defense. And in the conference they play in and their own division that they play in, they're gonna need to have some pieces come back to at least have a solid defense to be able to compete. But Jacksonville, I said they were one of the top teams in the American Football Conference, the AFC. They needed to have a game like
Yeah.
this, whether if it was played in Jacksonville or in Buffalo, if it would have been a different outcome. Playing in London. I will say the Jaguars were able to stay in London for a full week, so their bodies were like readjusted to like the time zones, and they didn't have jet lag. So maybe that played into a part for like the Bills as well. But like Troy Aikman said, like it doesn't matter if you play on top of a mountain, play in water, or if you're playing
Yeah.
football, you should be ready to go. So yeah, Jacksonville wins. Yeah.
Big factor of that is the lack of defensive presence when it came to stopping the run for Buffalo. I think that's going to be a huge thing when Von Miller can come back. Hopefully, hopefully he can disrupt the plays, the back field, and all kinds of things like that. A huge reason why Buffalo lost was that Josh Allen was their leading rusher with 14 yards, a monstrous day. Their quarterback.
Yep. Yep.
That is not going to ever get you a dub in the league. He threw for 359 yards, but the leading rusher had 14 yards. That's not even 2 first downs, bro.
Horrible.
You know what I mean?
Horrible.
So it's never going to get it done. So I just think that they need to reevaluate how they're going to approach the run game. To be honest,
Yeah.
they got to get a better run game
Yeah.
because it's not Josh Allen shouldn't lead the team in yards.
Yeah. I agree.
Next game, Houston versus Atlanta, with Atlanta winning 21 to Houston's 19.
I'm telling you, man, like these games are just getting so unpredictable now
I knew that
because
was gonna happen.
yeah. So
I know.
Houston could have won. Stroud made a great potential game-winning drive, but left just enough time on the clock for Desmond Ridder and the Atlanta Falcons
Yeah,
to come back and steal one. I don't want to focus on the game too much. I do want to focus on CJ Stroud. I think he's playing really well, man. I can't see anything wrong with the kid. I feel like he's making incredible throws, making the correct throws. He's not, turning the ball over. Although I'm not sure if he had a pick in this game or not. Did he? Yeah,
he
yeah. He's
didn't.
not. So, yeah, man. I think he's playing really well. And then on the other side, Bijan Robinson, the play that he made where he like caught the ball with one hand behind his back. I think he's really going to be a problem. And mind you, Atlanta doesn't really have a great like line
They
yet.
don't.
You know what I mean?
They don't.
So
I
yeah.
don't. I'm not as big a fan of Stroud as you are, but I will say the one thing that I have noticed is what you said. He doesn't have any interceptions. So the fact that he has 0 interceptions is a huge thing for any kind of franchise because when your quarterback turns the ball over, you're not looking.
Hmm.
So his numbers aren't bad. 250, 249. I'm rounding up. 20 for 35, not bad. Ritter was 28 for 37 for 329. So
It's
that
probably
was
his best
impressive.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that. I don't know who the kid is, to be honest. Second year, but don't know him.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
one of those toilet bowl games.
Mhm.
Next game, Carolina versus Detroit. Detroit winning 42 to Carolina's 24. He swapped it on.
They're gonna have to start calling Detroit the new Big D.
Nah. Nah, they still
I've been
they
waiting
make
to
the
say that all
Detroit,
week.
man. They're gonna be Detroit, man. That's it.
Detroit, yeah, man. I think Detroit's solid, man. Detroit's looking really good. They only had that one loss, and it was to the Seattle Seahawks in overtime, which the Seattle Seahawks are also a solid team.
And they're still a
Detroit could,
young team too.
uh,
So
Detroit could very easily be one of those 5-0 teams. But I think Detroit is safe to say now, 5 weeks into the season, Detroit's a force to be reckoned
yeah,
with, man. They're
I,
solid
I
on
thought
offense,
that
solid on defense.
I thought that the first game they played, Kansas City, even though Kansas City didn't look great, I thought that Detroit had showed me everything that I wanted to see. They showed me toughness on defense with playmakers, with adding Branch, with adding Hutchinson, with adding what's the linebacker's name? From Illinois, I think Iowa. Forgot his name. I think
Oh
Jack
yeah,
Jack something.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
they're all doing phenomenal on defense. And then you got Jared Goff, who went to the Super Bowl, who got unfairly blamed for the Rams' lack of success.
Yeah.
Then you got Reynolds, you got St. Brown, and you got all these other guys who can play on offense, and Montgomery, and then Gibbs. I think that they're going to have. And then you add a coach who has fire under him with Dan Campbell.
They got
They
a good team.
they
Like
got a good team, bro.
you didn't even mention Khalil Raymond. You didn't mention their tight end Samuel Laporta. Like Laporta's a
Like,
beast, bro.
yeah, they look
Crazy.
good. They got a good
They're
scheme.
really good.
So look out for Detroit.
Yeah.
Facts. Next game,
So
Tennessee versus Indianapolis. Indianapolis wins 23 to Tennessee 16.
I already know I already know what you're gonna say about this game.
I don't know. I'm gonna let you know why you say
I
what you
already
say.
know what you're gonna say about this game. Um, yeah, I guess I can give props to Gardner Minshew. I mean Minshew.
That's all I
Minshew.
ask. That's all I ask.
It seems like Anthony Richardson is turning out to be. I mean, he got hurt, but I mean, he was looking pretty bustable.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Richardson is made out of glass already. Hasn't really
You
shown me
think so?
much
You
while
think
he's been
he's
playing.
like injury prone?
It's, it seems like it. I mean, we're only 5 games into the season, and it's already, he's already gotten hurt.
Yeah.
I
How
want
many
to
times did he
say
get?
2 or 3 times already, but Gardner Minshew with his veteran presence, with his experience, has stepped in and given the Colts their first 2 wins of the season, man, and that's not easy to do. So, props to Minshew, props to the Colts. I thought Tennessee, because of how they played against Cincinnati, would have played a better game against an inferior opponent like the Colts.
Yeah.
But again, you're playing in the same division. You kind of like know each other, so
Yeah.
those games can always go either way, and it went the Colts' way this time.
Yeah, Tennessee doesn't look like the old Tennessee. They definitely have a quarterback who's dumpster juice, and Ryan Tannehill. He doesn't look like he has it. It's not. He didn't have a horrible game, but he didn't have a great one either,
Yeah.
especially against a team like Indianapolis. Derrick Henry looked very underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
He only had 43 yards, but besides Gardner Minshew, I'm going to get back to him in a minute. But Zach Moss, like 3 carries for 165
I
yards.
almost feel bad for him
I know,
because
because you know
now,
why. Why I ask you why.
because now they got back JT, and it's like, damn, like, or if they're smart, well, their head coach was our ex offensive coordinator, and you know how like the Eagles like to do like a running back by
Committee.
well, like committee.
Yeah,
So if Shane Steichen can figure out a way to do a two-headed monster with both Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor, the Colts can have a serious running game. But I think Zach Moss showed out,
yeah.
like had like a coming out party in the absence of Jonathan Taylor. But now that Jonathan Taylor is back, I wonder if they're gonna make him take a back seat or figure out a way to use them both.
They're gonna definitely make him take a back seat.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is this the reason why you feel sorry is the same reason why I feel sorry for Gardner Minshew. Because he did good with the Jaguars. It's just like, well, Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent. You're not gonna pass on him.
Yeah.
So you put him in. You know what I mean? He gets to the Eagles. Well, Jalen Hurts is a Heisman Trophy guy. Heisman Trophy candidate. Played at Alabama, national champion. It's like, well, you got to give him the chance first. So he's always taking a back seat. Now you're taking a back seat to Richardson, who I didn't expect to be picked that high, but now he is where he is. But he was 11 for 14, for 155 yards, averaging 11 yards a pass. Like the way he commanded the game looked very good. He looks like a playmaker who is starting to come into his own. Because the first game he came in, he didn't look as sharp. He looked a little nervous, like, oh shoot, I'm really here again. Okay, well, they're just gonna sit me back down in a second. But
Hmm.
the Indianapolis Colts are 3-2. The 2 losses came under Richardson, and the 3 wins came under Minshew. So I don't know what they're going to do, but we're going to see how good or bad he is, and we're going to see how the team responds to it because of their investment in the 4th overall pick in
I
Richardson.
mean, especially, I know Richardson is going to be gone. I just saw an update from Adam Schefter. He's going to be gone for 4 to 8 weeks. Let's say it ends up being 6 weeks, right? Let's meet in the middle.
Okay.
And Gardner Minshew somehow goes 4-2. I think you got to stick with Minshew. I
I
think at that
agree. Well,
point,
we'll put it like this. They play the Jaguars next, so we'll see what he's about. Then he plays the Browns, so we'll see what he's
Wait, where's
about
that? My bad. Where's that Jacksonville game at? Is that in Indy or Jacksonville? Yeah,
at Jacksonville.
they haven't won in Jacksonville since like 2012, so
Right. So
they're
we'll
not winning
see.
that
So if
game.
they lose, they lose. If they
Yeah,
win, then it's like, well, maybe they may have something. The third
yeah,
game will be the Saints,
that's
which I'm not really impressed.
winnable.
We're going to talk about them in a minute. The
Yeah,
next game is the Panthers. Okay, so that's 4 weeks. If he's up 6 weeks, fifth week will be the Patriots. 6 weeks will be the Buccaneers.
they got a
So
pretty
to me,
favorable schedule.
yeah, the only test for him will probably be
Jacksonville.
the Jacksonville game coming up next
Uh,
week. And maybe the Browns. Maybe the Browns, depending on because they got defensive talent.
you want to know something?
What's that?
Now that you put it like that, Gardner Minshew's going to be the quarterback, and the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in over a decade. But it just might be that Gardner Minshew at quarterback might just be motivated enough to deliver a win in Jacksonville. It
So if
just
he
might
does
be.
that, here's the question: if he does that, what do you do? As a GM, as a coach, what do you do?
That's a huge win. If he can pull that off, that's a huge win. Huge.
What do you do? You're the
Yeah.
coach GM. What do you do?
Like I said, if over the next 6 weeks he can go 4-2, 5-1, you can't sit him down after that. You can't. You
Nope.
can't.
If I'm the GM, if I'm the coach, I'm riding with Minshew, and I know I sound biased. I'm riding with Minshew. Let him Richardson kind of like get acclimated to the NFL. Let him sit for a year. He don't have to start right now
Yeah, of
because they're not. I don't think that they're championship contenders right now.
course not.
But you allow him to get developed, and you allow him to understand how systems are played. I like it. I would like that because that's what happened with Aaron Rodgers. And look at him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's what happened with Zach Wilson. Look at him.
Yep.
He's doing better than what he
Yep.
did. So I don't know. Next game, New York Giants versus Miami. I'm not going to talk much about this. I'll let you handle
Yeah, the Giants are just. Yep, Jim Carrey with pads on. Dumb and Dumber. Ace Ventura, Wet
that.
Detective.
The Giants are wet.
Trash. You ain't hear me say Wet Detective though.
No. I missed that. Yep, they're right. Garbage. Giants are garbage.
Yeah,
And
the
so,
Giants are garbage. The Dolphins are one of the greatest offenses I've seen in a long time.
yeah, I
Um,
have them listed. We'll go into that. We're going to do a new segment. We'll talk about it at the end.
uh,
New
Devin A. Chain
Orleans.
getting hurt though. I don't know if it hurts them. I mean, they still have Mostert. I think Wilson comes back soon. But as long as you got Tyreek and Waddle, I mean, that offense is going to move the ball up and down the field at
Yeah,
will. So
easy.
I don't think it's going to hurt them too much.
And then the fact that they got Chase Claypool, I don't know how that affects them. It won't. I don't think it'll hurt. They already
It
good on
doesn't
receivers, but if you got
hurt
a
them.
tall receiver, that
Yeah,
can be a
and
problem.
they're all fast. They're all fast.
And then here's the thing: you go and you send Claypool deep. You can send Waddle across in the post. You can send them in a dig, and you can send a small like a check down with Waddle. With Tyreek Hill. So what do? You got to pick your poison.
That's going to be a tough offense to go up against,
Yeah,
man.
they just got to get their defense together, and they could be
Yeah,
contenders for sure.
yeah, see, that's the
Next
thing,
game.
because the,
Oh,
the the same way the Dolphins can drop 30 or 40 is the same way that defense can give up 30 or 40. That's
so
the
what do
thing
you?
too.
They got to figure some things out. When
Yeah.
is Ramsey supposed to be back?
That at during the preseason, they said he was going to be gone 5 to 6 weeks. So we're at that point now, but I haven't heard anything come out yet, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Next game, New Orleans versus New England. New England losing 0 to New Orleans 34.
I gotta say, this is the most unimpressive 34-0 win in the history of sports.
Yeah, it was
Um,
bad.
I don't give the Saints. I mean, I'll give them credit for winning like that, but I just don't give them credit in the bigger picture. I just think the Patriots have a lot of bigger issues going on. Um, I feel like from a quarterback perspective, from an internal like perspective, I just don't see I feel like the Patriots at this point, like for example, they asked Coach Bill Belichick if he wanted to make any changes at quarterback, and he said he had no changes in mind. I almost want to say he might be trying to tank with Mac Jones at quarterback.
Maybe,
You know what I mean?
maybe
So
because I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I just never seen like, especially a Coach Belichick led team get blown out the way they did back to back weeks. I mean, we're talking about 72-3 over the last 2 weeks.
I mean, he put
Um,
in Zappy. Zappy was trash too.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and then they have some injuries like they lost Christian Gonzalez, they lost Matthew Judon.
Those are
They don't
huge losses.
huge, both
Two,
of
two
them,
of
both
their
of them,
best playmakers on defense.
absolutely. So I mean, I don't know if yeah, I'm not sure, man. The Saints, I like we said last week, they were supposed to be the NFC South favorite. It's looking like that's Tampa Bay. Maybe a performance like this for the Saints gives them a boost in confidence. We'll see how they play moving forward. But I feel like it's more so of how bad the Patriots are and were,
Yeah,
as opposed to how great the Saints played.
I think that I was more impressed with how bad New England was with than New Orleans being good. Like Derek Carr was the leading passer with a whopping 183 yards. I was like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
Good on you, bro. So I don't know. I'm good. Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh winning 17 to Baltimore's 10. Oh, I should have picked Pittsburgh.
what did I say about
Yeah,
Baltimore?
I mean, pretenders.
Pretenders, man. They're not. They're just not good. Baltimore's not good. I mean, I will say this game though, and I think you were the one that sent me something on Instagram, and I will say this game wasn't on Lamar Jackson. I don't. I don't.
Right.
I don't. I don't. I don't think. I think he was making the right
Right.
throws. His receivers had nothing but butterfingers all game.
Man,
Um, T.J. Watt needs to be put back in the conversation of being the best
bro,
defensive player.
I told you a while ago. I said I love Micah. Like Micah is my
Yeah.
guy. I think he could win Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he could,
Yeah.
but I still think T.J. Watt is legit the best player defensively
Yeah.
in the league.
I
The
think
best.
it's I think it's clearly like three-headed monster and Micah, TJ Watt, and Nick Bosa. I think is any one of those three. Um Obviously Jalen Carter's still a rookie, so I'm not gonna put him in that tier yet, even though they almost put Micah in that tier when he was a rookie, but um
Yeah. I didn't think he was at the rookie. I thought he was impressive. He's the most impressive. I
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
put Micah at his rookie
But
year.
yeah, and then Kenny Pickett the Pickens finally got my points in fantasy with my boy George Pickens this week.
Yeah, he went
Um,
on.
so yeah, man. Like I said, this is one of the games. This is one of those games where Pickett showed some kind of spark, some kind of light. But then again, we can never. We got to see it over the course of 4 or 5 games
Yeah,
more, some more
I think
consistency.
Watt is the best. I still think Micah is better than Bosa, which is I'm biased about that,
Yeah.
but I only say that simply because of the way that he affects the game in so many different ways.
Hmm.
But I think if you put Bosa on this team and you put Micah on that team, I think that you're going to get similar results with Micah. But I don't know if you would get similar results with Bosa. Bosa's still a beast, but if we start passing over him, you know what I mean? I think that you neutralize him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I see Micah in pass coverage. But it's, like I said, the conversation of those three. I'll never argue that. Any three of those guys could be the defensive player or the best. But to me, I think Watt is just the way he affects so many ways.
For sure.
Next game, Cincinnati versus Arizona. Cincinnati 34, Arizona 20.
Welcome to the 2023 NFL season, Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, finally.
Um, Joey B, I will say, he said a couple weeks ago that the calf strain was healing, and this is the first game where he looked sharp.
Yeah,
He looked very, very comfortable in the pocket. He could
yeah.
move. His throws were superb. Jamar Chase went like crazy. Yeah, I think this was the Bengals 2023 2023 coming out party. Um, so I think they can go on like a little run here, hopefully. And they should be a team to be reckoned with. Luckily, they're in the AFC North. That division is wide open. The Steelers are the number one seed in that division right now, and they're only 3-2. The Bengals are 2-3. So I think Baltimore and Pittsburgh are both 3-2, and then Cleveland and Cincinnati are both 2-3. So that's pretty much up for grabs.
Hardest.
I know, I
Well,
know. It reminds me of what the NFC East was the past couple of years before Philly and Dallas started being dominant last year. But
man.
um, yeah, I expect Cincinnati, especially now with the injuries to Buffalo, the injuries offensively to Miami, and then Jacksonville being unknown, and then Kansas City not really having anybody to throw to other than Travis Kelce. I think Cincinnati's in a good position still. Um, Again, it was just one game. They did play Arizona, but Arizona
Right.
did give other teams problems. But we're not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
But
Ah, dude is on one today. You
but
feeling it?
Cincinnati is yeah, if they play like that, then they'll be one of the top teams again for sure.
We'll see next week because their next game is against the Seahawks. So, Arizona is Arizona, but Seahawks are a bit better. So we'll see how they do against that defense
For
because
sure.
we'll see. Next game, New York Jets versus the Mile High Denver Broncos, with the New York Jets winning 31 to Denver's 20.
I thought this was the best game that Denver had played up until they blew it again.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that Russ looked really good. He was running the ball. He was throwing the ball. And then Jets finally come out and unleash Brees Hall, which that's what he's been begging for this whole time.
The whole time.
Um, Brees Hall had an incredible game. To come back from a torn ACL like that and still be that fast, that quick, have that much confidence. It was very impressive. Zach Wilson is starting to turn a corner here, starting to play better, taking care of the ball, making the right decision. And that defense is still real, like I said. They made plays when they had to make plays. Was able to slow that Denver offense down in the second half,
Yeah.
and come away with a win at Mile High.
I think that Denver is definitely on some BS. I think they're trash, to say the least. Russell did look better, but he still got outplayed by Zach Wilson, which is, I don't, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what? Why? I'm not saying now New York's defense is serious, but his running back averaged 7.6 yards a carry.
Hmm.
That's still crazy. So
Yeah.
it's not just the running back. Like, what was the problem?
Yeah.
I will say this about Zach. Zach is looking way more comfortable than he did when he first got in against Dallas.
Hmm.
So, that's an improvement. If I was a Jets fan, I would be a little bit more comfortable about, hoping that Aaron Rodgers comes back.
For sure.
Next game, Kansas City versus Minnesota. Kansas City wins 27 to Minnesota's 20.
Yeah, you said it was going to be a blowout, and I knew that I wasn't going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
There's something about Kansas City that's not kind of like Philly. They're not clicking all the way right now. The wide receivers for Kansas City cannot get open. Outside of Travis Kelce, like I said, they don't have anybody to throw the ball to right now.
Yeah.
Literally, like you watch the games, and they even said it when I was watching. I don't know if it was Sunday Countdown or NFL Live before Monday Night Football, but Kansas City's wide receivers just can't find a way to get open. If it's not for Patrick Mahomes, just ways of being super magical. If it's not for Travis Kelce, just being able to find spots on the field to be open. Um, Minnesota needed to play tough this game, and they did. They played better at home for whatever that's worth. But Kansas City was still able to come out of this week with another win. And thank God we didn't hear too much about Taylor Swift this week. So there's that.
You know what? Watching this, I was like, this is crazy. I was thinking about the same thing you were saying. Like, their receivers can't get open. They're definitely getting a receiver first round next year.
For sure.
Once that happens, we'll see where it goes. But I don't know if you've been seeing this, but like around the league and on the internet, people have been talking about how the refs are like helping out Kansas City. So I don't know if you saw the end of the game. Did you see the end of the game?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So there were multiple plays that weren't called in favor of the Vikings, but in
Yeah.
favor of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
One was quarterback. The way you can't touch a quarterback, the way that Kirk Cousins was blasted up
Yeah.
high, I was like, oh, they're going to call roughing the passer. No flag. Okay? Holding on Addison, going to the end zone by Snead. The cornerback for the Chiefs was holding him.
Yeah.
No flag. They threw a flag, but then they eventually picked it up. The cornerback took his helmet off on the field, which is a flag. The ref said, "Put your helmet back on." Hey, let him back on. Hey, yo, bro, put your helmet back on. Put your flag. Hurry. Like there's no cameras around. Like, we can't relive. Those are 3 flags, and none of them were called towards the end of the game. The holding was in the end zone. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like there's I don't know, conspiracy theories when you see certain things, and then there's blatant cheating, right? And that looked like blatant cheating.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is what it is. We're gonna go skip to the Monday night football game: Green Bay versus Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas winning 17 and Green Bay's 13.
Fun fact. The last 12 times the Raiders have played the Packers, they hadn't beat the Packers since like 1960 something. It was like a ridiculous stat.
Really?
The last 12 games, bro. Yeah. So shout out to my boy Justin, who was a diehard Packers fan that bought tickets to go to Vegas to see them this week.
Oh snap!
And
Man,
was a
that's a
was a
long
witness
distance sale.
and was a witness to the Packers' first loss to the Raiders in the last 12 times they've met. Yeah, man, I don't really have much to say about this game. Jordan Love looks uncomfortable now. I'm not sure what's going on. But he doesn't look as he did
I was
he
never
doesn't look as he
sold.
did the first 2 weeks,
Yeah,
huh?
I was never sold on Jordan Love, and my problem was because in college he threw too many interceptions.
Yeah.
Now I won't say that this game is indicative of who he will
He
be,
threw
but
3.
he threw 3, and that doesn't look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Especially
I'll
when
just
you're playing
say
the Raiders,
it
like
was,
they're trash.
yeah. So I hope that he's not that, but just didn't look good, man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, Raiders win. Jimmy G spot came back. Even though Devontae Adams only had 1 target, somehow they found a way to win.
Yeah, I know he's getting irritated with being there. His numbers have not looked great in Las Vegas without Aaron Rodgers. He's had great games, but not a great overall stretch. We'll go to the Sunday night game, and then we'll go back to the early one. Actually, we'll go to the early one. Philadelphia versus Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to start with this one, and I'll let you finish it up since it's your team.
Go ahead.
This was a game where I thought that you guys' weakness would have been exposed a bit more this game. I was like, oh, man, they got Kupp, Puka. They got a couple people that was going to at least test the cornerbacks in the secondary.
Yeah.
And even though they tried to a bit, they still didn't have the time. I mean, Jalen Carter is a man amongst boys.
Ridiculous, bro.
Well, and I see the smirk on your face, bro. Like, I get it. I would be too, man. I have never understood. To this day, I'll still never understand why he fell so far. And it was number 10. It's not that far, but for all those teams to pass on him is, to me, ridiculous. For me to go get a quarterback before I get Jalen Carter, for me to go get, someone that could be a generational talent like this is just, I haven't seen anybody like this since Aaron Donald.
I didn't want to make
I have not.
that comparison, but that's the only thing that comes to mind.
That's the only one. And to be honest, they're not. They have the same motor, and that's the only thing that I can say comparison wise, like what style of play. Their motor, both of them, is just ridiculous. But Hurts looked good. Hurts was 25 for 38. But the play of the day was to the best. I might even say he's the best in the league. AJ Brown, one-handed catch,
Yo,
and
I
then
was
took
so
it off
hyped.
the field was ridiculous, and I don't understand why he's not getting the credit he deserves. I don't know why. I really don't know why he's not being labeled as the top three, top two, top receiver in the league
He
because
will. He will
he's
soon.
going off every week, except for the one against the Vikings, and that was simply because of just circumstance.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a whole, the Philadelphia Eagles to me, um, they look like, to be honest, the second best team. Unbiasedly, I think they're the second best team in the league, and that's only because of the secondary for you guys
Hmm.
defensively. But yeah, you guys are solid. I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it.
I
I
appreciate it. I
those moves
appreciate it.
were the truth. I got to give y'all credit. So,
Yeah.
all right, hit them.
Like I said, your boy was live at SoFi Stadium in attendance to watch his team for the first time in 15 years. I was nervous because I spent a lot of money on this game. I was going with my dad, with my girl. So I just wanted to have a good day. I wanted to have fun. I didn't want to see a loss. Um, and my boys came out with a big W. Like my co-host Crow, I did expect our secondary to get exposed. I was concerned about Puka Nakua and Tutu Atwell, and then the major comeback of Cooper Cup, which I feel like is grossly underrated himself.
Yeah, he
Um,
is.
that first drive that we got the ball first. I think we had our best drive of the season. We marched right down the field and finally started hitting Dallas Goedert, our Pro Bowl tight end. Had his biggest game of the year. Had an opening drive touchdown. Um, and then the connection from Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown is proven to be as lethal as ever. One of those games where I feel like there's always going to be one option for the Eagles that always takes a seat back, and that option this game was for Devontae Smith. I think
Yeah,
he only got targeted maybe two or three times. He
yeah.
only had one catch for 6 yards. He was non-existent, but he didn't really need to exist either. He'd just be out there playing like a decoy. Dallas Goedert needed to have.
Can I speak on that
Um,
point real quick?
yeah.
I think this is the thing that I worried about, right? Remember when we talked about it and you said, "Oh, I don't think it's a problem with AJ
Uh
Brown
huh.
and
Uh
Jalen."
huh.
When I said that, I still don't think it's just simply between them. I think that the problem could be deeper rooted because it's like one of those things where if one receiver cries, then you got to feed him because he's going to stop playing. But now that you're feeding him, you're starving your other receivers. And I think that it's a benefit that Smith is so humble,
Yeah.
And if I were you, I would hope that he continues to stay that way
Yeah.
because usually receivers are divas, the divas of the
Yeah.
team. Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. But he seems very comfortable with like, yo, I'll eat when I eat, right?
Yeah.
And we'll see if he continues to stay there because he is a monster in his own right.
Yeah.
But if you keep feeding AJ Brown,
Eventually, it'll be
um,
your problem.
eventually he's gonna be
Yeah.
like, look, I know that you want. I'm not mad at him. Feed him, but
Yeah.
give me some. Hey, throw me a couple scraps too.
Well, I'll say to your point, I'll say that of course the last three games have been very Adrian Brown, I guess, focused.
Yeah,
Um, but Devontae Smith has still gotten plenty of targets in those games, and he's still, I mean, like the last few weeks he's had, I think at least 5 or 6 catches for like 80 something yards, that's still not bad for a number two.
yeah.
And then the first, like I said, the person that has been really taking a back seat is um
Scanling
our
or
no Dallas Goddard, which is
oh, Goddard. Yeah, he
our
really
tight
has.
end. So I feel
Yeah,
like this game Devontae had to take a back seat because I just feel like AJ Brown is clicking right now, and Dallas Goddard needed to have like I guess like he needed to have like a coming out game for this season because he hasn't had one yet.
yeah, he
And he's
did.
one of the I believe he's one of the top three tight ends in the league, and he needed to be given his chance and his flowers this week, and we did. Jalen Hurts made one mistake when we're driving downfield. I don't know if it was a miscommunication because then there was a discussion with him and Coach Sirianni on the sideline when he was throwing a post route
Yeah,
um, to AJ Brown,
yeah,
but AJ beat the corner, so he thought that Hurst was gonna go, I guess, gonna throw a lob like, or not a lob. I thought he was gonna throw him a pass like over the top, but then it seemed like Jalen threw a lob to like make it back shoulder, but they didn't. It was kind of a weird play. And then the cornerback, I think it was Yeast that made that. No, I think it was Witherspoon that made that play. Incredible pick
Yeah,
to maintain both feet like in bounds. I just don't know if that was a bad Hurts throw or if it was miscommunication on Hurts and Brown, because it seemed like Hurts was throwing it back shoulder, and then Brown thought he was going to throw it over the top. So I'm not sure what really happened there. The Rams' offense was really scaring me in the first half because Cooper Kupp in that first drive had 5 receptions for like 57
yeah.
yards.
Cooper was
Um,
cooking.
but then he ended up only finishing with 8 catches, so he only caught the ball 3 times after that.
Yeah,
Puka Nakua, outside of that touchdown catch, didn't do anything the rest of the day. Jalen Carter, that front, we were playing without Fletcher Cox, um, and Jalen Carter seemed like we didn't even miss like Fletcher Cox. Like Fletcher Cox wasn't even on the team. Like Jalen Carter was just um, that dominant,
yeah,
that like impactful. He had 2 sacks himself, and then Hassan Reddick, once he got that cast off his thumb, had a sack last week, had 2 more to end the game this week. That line is vicious. That line is serious.
yeah.
Um, I'll tell you what, man. Our linebackers, between Morrow, Zach Cunningham, and Hassan Reddick, they're not playing bad ball right
No,
now.
especially Reddit.
They're not playing bad ball right now, and we just got word that N'Kobe Dean is going to come back to practice next week, so that's a good sign. And then our secondary had a solid day. I think shout out to Coach, our defensive coordinator, Coach Sean Desai. Eagles were, since our weakness is known to be like the secondary, they've been playing like a lot of zone this year. He decided to go man to man and just let the front seven do their thing.
He did.
I thought that was a major adjustment when we play teams like Miami and teams that that can pass the ball like Dallas and San Francisco. Then there's going to be a major thing to look at where we should start to play more like man coverage, let the front seven go to work. And overall, I thought it was our best game of the year. I don't think the score reflects that. I thought we could have scored 35 points at least. We have red zone issues of ourselves. We had the ball in the red zone 6 times, only scored 2 touchdowns. So I definitely don't like that. But overall, man, I think we're in a good place. We're still getting better. And for a team that is still getting better that hasn't played a complete game yet, we're 5-0, Philly,
Yeah,
Philly.
yeah. To add to that point real quick about Philly, like the adjustments made was important, was very important. They scored 14 at the first in the first half,
Zero
right?
in the
It was
second.
like boom, boom, quick, and I was like, oh shoot, this might be a shootout. Never again. You know what I mean? Not a field goal, not nothing. So that shows a lot of discipline and fight that Philly has. So, like I said, I give respect where respect is due. You know what I mean? Division rivals or not. Next game, we got the Dallas Cowboys for the Sunday night game. Was that Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers? I'll let you go ahead and go first before I say my 2 cents.
Look, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. Usually, like, we'll like reach out to each other after our games just to kind of talk about it. But this week, I decided to leave you alone because
I appreciate that.
yeah, because I just I wasn't trying to add fuel to the fire. Um, look,
It's better now. I'm not gonna lie to
man,
you. You did
yeah.
not see this. You didn't see my teeth. You would have thought I've never had teeth, like until today.
Oh my
But
God. I will say this, okay? Dallas, this is why, and even last week's episode where I'm like, bruh, y'all blew out the Patriots, but calm down. I told you this.
yeah.
And it's like Dallas again. I believe they have the talent, they have the roster, they got the team to win the whole thing. As much as I don't like Dallas, I have to admit when I see a solid top to bottom roster. I mean, there's no holes in that team. Okay, but I do think that San Francisco, if they weren't your kryptonite before, they're definitely your kryptonite now. I do think that Dak psychologically doesn't want to see San Francisco. I don't think he's mentally strong enough to see that team again. I really, really don't. Okay. Um, one pick all year, and I think he's getting too much credit for having that one pick. I just feel like they're taking the ball away from his hands. Um,
But
and then he tried to force the issue this game, and three picks, especially to some backups. That first pick when he just tried to make something out of nothing and threw that Hail Mary where he threw it over the Statue of Liberty and it came down like the World Trade. I just, man, it just wasn't. It was awful. It was awful. Um, Micah Parsons needs to shut the fuck up, get off the podcast, stop trying to say, oh, George Kittle, you want to make it personal, we can make it personal. Stop trying to do your little like hoorah speeches. I believe in you as a dog, but I believe you're getting contaminated with the Dallas Cowboy uh with the Dallas Cowboy culture where y'all talk but don't deliver. The whole Jerry Jones thing, Dak Prescott, the way he carries himself in interviews and post game conferences. I feel like Micah's starting to get a little bit contaminated with that. Just play the game, man. Play the game. Y'all have a roster. Y'all have the team. Play the game. As for San Francisco, look, man, I'm a little bit devastated by them. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit scared. Because of them, I feel like they're by far the most dominant team in not only the NFC but the NFL. Christian McCaffrey seems to be living in the end zone. I think he stays there throughout the week and just shows up on Sunday. Um, I will say though that San Francisco is more worried about Dallas and less worried about Philadelphia, and I feel like that's a mistake on their part because I do feel like San Francisco's offensive and defensive line aren't as dominant as ours. Um, just like Dan Orlovsky said on First Take on Monday, this was a game that was won by a better quarterback play and better coaching. Don't sit there and pretend that San Francisco's offensive line and D line were super dominant because they weren't. It's true what he said. Dallas was putting more pressure on Brock Purdy than San Fran was putting more pressure on Dak Prescott. Um, I, I do think these teams. Well, San Francisco has an easier schedule than Philly, so I'm assuming that San Fran's going to have the number one seed. So if anything, Dallas is going to have to play Philly this year in the divisional round, instead of San Fran, and then we'll have to worry about San Fran in the conference championship, assuming that we beat Dallas. Um, but Dallas, if they're not careful, have a tougher schedule. They can lose to the Chargers. They can lose to the Rams. They can lose to the Bills. They can lose to the Dolphins, especially if they play the way they played against San Francisco. Um, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm not. I wouldn't be too confident if I was a Cowboys fan. I'm saying the roster that you guys have is still one of the best in the NFL, but I don't think you guys are mentally tough to compete at the highest level against the toughest teams. And you've proven that year after year. Not even just the team. It really comes down to Dak Prescott. It really does. Because like you said, like when the offense can't like at least like have a drive where they can sustain certain drives and like put pressure on the defense and give their own defense a break to to like stay off the field. It's easy for Brock Purdy and San Fran to come in and put up 42 points. I mean, if you can Mike and the boys can't find a way to if you can stay off the field, it's hard for a defense not to get tired, for a defense not to get torched like that. Um, and then Dak Prescott with three and outs with picks. He had the one drive to Turpin, but I mean, mm, that seemed kind of fluky. Now that the score ended up the way that it did. Um, but yeah, man, I don't want to keep on adding more fuel to the fire, but I saw a lot of concerns in Dallas. It made me confident as an Eagles fan, even. And I do think that The AFC conference was supposed to be the tougher conference this year. I now believe it's the NFC, and I only believe that because of 2 teams and 2 teams only. San Francisco 1 and Philadelphia 2. I will say top 3 now is San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Detroit. Dallas has fallen out of that top 3. And yeah, man, you guys got to have a big bounce back this week. If not, it's just gonna get really real for y'all. I'm sorry. There goes that smile again.
Yeah. I got to smile through the pain.
My bad, bro.
No. Like, this is what it is. I'm gonna be very honest with you. You know me. I'm a straight shooter. I'm America's favorite Cowboy fan because I'm gonna shout when we're good, and I'm going to call when we're wrong and we're bad. Yeah. Right? Favorite Cowboy fan. So I will say this. I will start off by saying, I'm done. Like, I think the Cowboys, they're a great team, extremely talented, right? But it doesn't matter how good a team is if your coach is trash and your quarterback is trash, because that's where it comes down to. I think that we're overrated because of our quarterback play. Defensively, I don't think we're overrated. I still don't. Yeah. I still don't believe we're overrated. Yeah. And people were like, yeah, we're overrated. My boys are San Francisco fans. He's like, y'all overrated. Right? Even with Mike, I think Mike should stop talking and just doing. But I don't think that he's wrong defensively. Right? 42-10 isn't indicative of the play. I'm going to go to some stats real quick. Brock Purdy. You would think he had an amazing game. He had a good game, for sure. Yeah. He had 252 yards. Yeah. It's not amazing. Mm-hmm. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing, right? Yeah. 17 for 24, good, solid game. 4 touchdowns was amazing. But Christian McCaffrey, his average for the year, 5.7 yards a carry. What did he do against us? 2.7. Mm-hmm. And that was on 19 carries. 19 carries. Christian McCaffrey, who I think is the best running back in the game, averaged 2.7 yards a carry. His receptions, he averaged 20. He had 27 yards in the air. George Kittle had the best day out of all the receivers. 3 touchdowns, but for 67 yards. Brandon Ayuk, beast of the season, 58 yards. Deebo Samuel, 55 yards. Nobody had a phenomenal day offensively besides Brock Purdy's 4 and then Jack Kittle's 3. But what happens and what hurt us is defense was on the field so long that we were damn near statues. Like, they were tired, they were beaten. Every time they had a tough stop, because not only are they a good team, they're a physical team. So they're going to beat up the defense, right? Imagine doing all that, finally getting the stop, getting the rest. All right, cool, I get to sit down. And then our quarterback throws a pick, and you're like, God damn, I just got a sip of water, right? So you got to go back out there and face them again. The first play, they ran straight down rammed it down our throats the first drive. I give props. I was like, damn, this is going to be a long day. Stopped them the second time. Stopped them the third time. But what happens is we went 3 and out, right back on the field. We went 3 and out again, right back on the field. Right. I said, well, damn. Bro, our defense is tired. They literally had twice the amount of time of possession than we did, right? So I'm like, well, how you can't win that way. I've always said, I got super hyped because I never thought that Dak was the guy, to be honest. I know people don't like me saying this, and they think I'm a Dak hater. I just don't think he's the guy. I never thought he was the guy, but I do not think he's the guy. Yeah. But I didn't think he was this bad. I didn't think he was that bad. When I saw the plays that he was making, when he threw the ball up to see how high he can throw it and realized, oh, shoot, that's in play. I was like, is he punting or is he passing? What is he doing? Why would you throw the ball that high? And then you threw it that high to a guy in double coverage. It wasn't even to the outside where he could not have help from the safety.
Yeah, no, that was a horrible. horrible throw.
That was a horrible throw. Then you threw a second interception. Then you threw a third interception. I said, well, the thing that frustrates me the most about all of this is the lack of adjustments being made, which I gave you guys credit for. Okay? McCarthy over there was sitting back looking at the game like he wasn't a coach. Not once did we say, all right, let's go to our tight ends. Remember, I always say this. Once we go to our tight ends, what do? We do some damage, right?
Yeah.
Ferguson's first pass went for 20 yards. He caught it like at 10 yards and ran it 10 more. We only threw to him 2 more times. We only targeted him 2 more times after that. That's it. That's it. Now, why is that on Dak or is that on McCarthy? To be honest, it's on both. Yeah. Dak has to recognize that we have to utilize your tight ends. If you can't throw down the field, at least get your tight ends and let them do the work. Let them be the mules. We didn't throw any screens to Nick Bosa's side when he's getting all that press and pressing. No screens, no adjustments, and that's on the coach. McCarthy's always been overrated. I've said he's been overrated. Aaron Rodgers basically allowed him to have a job now by winning a Super Bowl ring. Dak Prescott has been overrated because Zeke has allowed him to not have the heavy load on his back so he can do dumps and dinks. That interception, you know when he said, oh, he's a one interception guy before this game? Mm-hmm. You know what his average per pass was? 6.7. I'm only throwing 6 yards. That's your average. So I'm only throwing 6 yards. Mm-hmm. How can you throw an interception? And if you're throwing interceptions at 6 yards, then you need to not be in the league. Yeah. Right? What happened and what frustrates me about this whole game is that Dak was taken out of the game so Cooper Rush can go in while our starters stayed in. He was on the sideline smiling. Bro, bro, if I was a teammate, bro, I had to slide you on film. On film. You're going to turn to the BET Awards. I got to see you. That's
Jerry Jones' boy. He needs to make sure that he protects him for next week.
Exactly. Because here's my thing. I don't know why we gave him that much money to begin with. I don't know why we let him stronghold us to do that because there's no trade clause that he has in his contract.
He's gonna,
you know that?
Ask for more though, and he's also gonna ask for more.
I hope he does, and I hope that we tell him some things that I probably can't say on this live right now. Here's some stats. I don't know how accurate this is. Like there was the post, right? I'm gonna read a post real quick. This is how bad I feel because I haven't felt this way about the Cowboys in a while. It says that we're gonna go off on Instagram Live. So Jerry Jones, since Dak got his contract in 2021, he has 0 Pro Bowl appearances, missed 17 games, thrown an interception in 33 out of 38 games, 2 playoff berths, 1 playoff win, and has made $157.4 million. And not to mention